So it's actually kind of hard for me to gather my thoughts here, right? I've thought a lot about what we can talk about this game, and I just want to preface this with the fact that I really enjoyed my time with it, right? As soon as the OS got announced, I completely stopped. There is no point of going on, no point in reading a story, even if I was kind of enjoying it, if we're just ending service. And I've really wanted to, and I've been meaning to make this video a long time ago, but I think there's no better time than now, right? A while back this year, back in February, Tribe 9 came out, right? And me, as not just a Danganronpa fan, but a Spike Chunsoft fan, I was excited for it, right? I've always liked the character designs. I always thought it was so unique, to that series. And knowing that we had the original writers in this game making the story, knowing that we had the original character designer making a gacha game, right? Trying to do something that's going to get them money back, I guess. And I don't really mind people making stuff to make money, right? As long as you treat your players with respect. But they made it, right? And it came out and I was super happy and we started playing it and I had a blast playing it. The reasons why I had a blast were more because the game managed to do some things that I was asking for in gacha games for a long time, and I never got in any of the big four. And that to me was surprising, was very surprising, right? But the game had a lot of flaws. The game made huge, insane mistakes in its monetization in the beginning, and that's what I want to talk about now. And besides all that, this game is very near and dear to my heart. Because during that time of the year, it was the biggest growth in my channel was when we started playing Tribe 9, and a lot of people joined, and people joining the stream that were more fans of anime than fans of gacha games necessarily, but still gacha gamers. Gives a lot of cool stuff to talk about, and of course, me shit-talking the game because of the wrong things that it was doing. I guess that's what I'm good at. But the core gameplay loop, for what it was satisfying. It took me a long time to get not sick, but like get jaded from playing the game. And it's probably because I played Iroha during the entire game, right? But that didn't it didn't stop me from logging in every day and doing everything that I need to do in the game, right? And doing all the end game and doing all the stuff. And I probably would still play it today. Let me talk about the positives first in the game. The things that really hit home for me and the reason why I kept playing the game. And then we'll get into the negatives because the negatives are going to outshine the positives a lot, right? It's just obvious. First thing that really got me while I was playing Tribe 9 is gacha games, they are inherently character collectors. And as far as a normal player goes, really, like I'm not talking about anybody that's, sweaty and there just for the meta. I really believe that the great majority of players of gacha games, they play gacha games because they have characters that they like. They have characters that they think are cool. They have characters that have good animations. They have characters that have cool backstories, characters that the players just like. And that should be the number one reason for why you're pulling on anything, right? You know what? If you pull for any other reason, fine, you do you, man. But in my opinion, that should be why you would pull for anything at any time. My favorite character was Iroha, right? The one in the middle of the screen. And when I started playing Tribe 9, she became my favorite character instantly. All the way up to the last patch that the game had, the last actual update, she still remained my favorite character out of every single character in the game. So the first thing that Tribe 9 did that I thought was awesome is they had an elemental system. And elemental systems make a lot of sense, right? Because you're going to create endgame modes that have certain elemental weaknesses. And you create an elemental system in characters because it makes it really easy for you to put out characters and people to keep pulling on characters, because now these guys got to build a team for every single type of elemental weakness. That's just how that kind of shit works. Whether you think those things are good for the game and for the players, it's up to you. I personally don't like it. Again, if I'm playing a game that is mainly about choosing a character and playing with a character you like, right? Or like pulling for characters you like, then I want to be able to play the entire game with that character. And I want to be able to clear the entire game, everything, all the content with that character. In my opinion, you can't have an elemental system and still have that. but you make it a lot more easier, faster, and cleaner for you to do it with characters that don't have the elemental advantage, rather than impossible. And what makes that impossible? Time-limited endgame. Now, of course, in Hoyoverse games and in Wuthering Waves and the Big Four, you can get away with using elements that are just not strong for the node that you're playing on, as long as they are insanely built or you play like a madman, right? So I'm not saying that every single other gacha game does this to a bad degree, but it really, really pisses me off when you see shit like 40% HP increase in endgame. Just so you have to, sell the new characters and sell the new abilities. You create problems and you want to sell the solution. And Tribe 9, right out the gate, they removed the elemental system and they had no time-limited end-game bosses. I repeat, they had no time-limited end-game bosses. That was insane. Now, I liked other parts of the game. I thought the story was okay. It was nowhere near stories from actual Spike Chunsoft games, even if we compare it to the game that came out right with this one, 100 Line Defense. It is nowhere near as good, but I also didn't think it was shit. There were parts that I thought were really entertaining, but nothing compared to, Zero Escape or even Danganronpa 2. But just for the fact that this is a gacha game and they were letting you play with whatever you wanted, completely made me want to keep playing the game. 100% agree. Winning becomes based on the characters used instead of the player's skills. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the end game should test your skills and never your wallet. And on top of that, it allows you to build the team the way that you want. And right before I start explaining to you guys how this kind of worked in the game and why I thought it was so cool, I want to tell you that I got to beat the game, the entire thing, everything, with Iroha and piloting Iroha. I was so happy when I played this game because finally I was able to beat everything in a gacha game with the one character that I actually like. Of course, now I might have changed to Minato. Is Minato? Is his name Minato? I kind of forgot his name. Blue hair boy. Whenever I had to block that, one-hit move from Solitaire, that's absolute fucking bullshit, by the way. Might have changed to him just to block that and then swap back to Iroha real quick, but hey, I'll take the W. Bakamon, I didn't have to do it, but Solitaire, that's such a stupid mechanic, by the way. Let's be real, right? That one-hit kill is so dumb. Being able to go through the entire fight and learning all the mechanics of the boss and dodging everything perfectly and then missing one parry and dying is so dumb, right? But anyways, let me continue on what I'm saying. And the biggest thing here is I don't like to play turtle, right? Or play with like extremely defensive characters or, HP bubble characters that just never die. But the game allowed you to do that if you wanted to, right? Let me get him in real quick. All you had to do was put this guy here, this dude, and pilot him. You would never die. You would never die. And if you built your cards to support him, then you really never died. So if you didn't want to learn the boss mechanics, the dodge timings, the parries, all you had to do is get him. And then in the last patch of the game, if you got her, then you really fucking never died. Because she was like... Akiba was player skill proof. Because for you to be able to parry with her, all you had to do was hold her charge attack. That's it. So if you couldn't beat Solitaire, you definitely could beat him now, right? And that's what I'm saying. It gives the player the choice. I beat Solitaire with Iroha because I fucking love Iroha, not because I needed to. And by the way, you guys know the thing that I hate the most besides time limited endgame, which is the fucking substat farm, right? Now my substats weren't that bad. But I beat the endgame modes with like whatever I had on hand. And I was able to do that because the boss was able to be beat as long as you knew how to fight him. As long as you knew his patterns. As long as you knew what he was going to do. As long as you got your parries right. As long as you got your DPS right, your rotation right. So no other gacha game, except for DNA right now, no other gacha game gave me this amount of freedom in building whoever the fuck I wanted, however the fuck I wanted, and playing how I wanted. I don't want to fucking fail a fight because I didn't beat a boss in 5 minutes. I want to fail a fight because the boss fucking killed me. Now, no shit on Wuthering Waves. I've seen the 3.0 trailer, man, and the game is looking amazing. And honestly, Wuthering Waves out of the big four is undoubtedly the best one when it pertains to that. I've never had that problem with, for example, hologram fights, right? But doing the fucking tower and heading in with my Carlotta team, right? Carlotta, Gigi, and who was I using? I didn't have Shorekeeper. I was using blonde lolly girl. I forgot her name. And I can't beat the time, right? Now, granted, it wasn't weak to ice, but I couldn't beat the time. And then I look at my substats, and my substats are optimal. And then I'm like, well, I just don't know how to... No, the substats were not optimal, sorry. I had like 50% crit rate and like 280 crit damage, right? I had 50% crit rate. And then I thought, well, no, maybe I just suck. I'm doing the rotation wrong, right? And then I literally research online people playing with Carlotta, and I'm doing the exact same thing that those people are doing. Okay, so I'm not playing wrong. So what the fuck is the problem? And then I leave, and I spend all my stamina and my frozen stamina in equipment. And then I use all the resources I have, and I get my Carlotta up to 80% crit rate. And then I go into the tower, and I do it again. Do the exact same thing. And now I beat it. I felt like a fucking loser. I really... Oh, okay, so I just needed one more equipment. Right now, this is very personal. A lot of people might not agree with this, right? A lot of people might say, well, it's part of the game. I think it sucks ass. Right? I think it was so bad that it made me quit Wuthering Waves again. Now, it's funny that I quit the game because I actually beat the boss, not because I didn't beat it. That's crazy, right? But yeah, I came back to Wuthering Waves later. I got a lot more. I am a lot more okay with subsets right now, and even the time limit in end games. But they are still the thing I hate the most about gacha games right now. And of course, man, right? There's also the argument of like, well, you were trying to do a node that wasn't weak to ice, right? And I get it, right? Maybe you're not supposed to do that, but I think it's dumb, right? I want to play the game with the characters that I like, right? But again, too long didn't read. If I'm losing to a boss, I want it to be because he fucking kills me. Not because I didn't spend weeks worth of stamina trying to farm those stupid goddamn substats, right? And Tribe 9 provided me that, and I was so happy. I didn't care all the other shitty things that the game had, because the game was able to provide me with an actual challenge that I could beat by just getting good. That is literally it, right? All gacha games are evil, some more than others, and they're after your money and your time. Yes, no, I agree, man. But no, listen, I agree, but I'm pretty sure that you and we don't care. We don't give a shit if you want my money. Just make the game good, and I'll give you money. Right? Now, if you're making me farm this stupid bullshit, while there are new characters that are gonna come out that I want to farm, stuff to level them up instead, and now I have to like do max refreshes so I can still get the characters that I have. I can keep the characters that I have stronger and get a better subsets for them, and yada yada yada. Then I just don't want to play your game. But yeah, so that's the biggest thing, man. Another good thing that I thought the game had was the card system. So the way that you built your teams were through the cards. It was really cool because the cards would always focus on whomever you're playing as your main. So for example, here I'm using Tsuki as my main, right? So I've got Tsuki's card, signature card. I've got her 4-star signature card. I've got Leading Wisdom because it was just fucking good. Then I got Piping Hot, which, you know, gets the strategy skill damage multiplier when you have Unity. And then Strike Zone because it gives you Unity, right? So everything that Tsuki had was about Unity, and you kind of build off that. And the cool thing about it is that this system gave a really cool value to 3-star and 4-star cards, because the very, very common 3-star cards would give you the most basic and fundamental skill that the 4-star and 5-star cards worked with. These cards needed the fundamental skills given by the normal 3-star cards to work. And I thought this was really cool, right? And it was a very different way to do weapons. And also, since the game favors player skill so much, you were much less reliant on the character's signature, I guess, you know, signature weapon to be able to just beat shit and to be able to make the character work well, because the most fundamental skill was given by the free-to-play card, right? All the others work better. And of course, I went for Tsuki's card because she was my favorite character. I understood you, but it's the way that they used to give the kick to all the ways of spending money, even if free-to-play, to get the same satisfaction as them at the end, they will no longer wail. Now, let me preface this with, I think players are part of the problem, but I don't think they are the entire problem. And I really don't understand what sort of dopamine rush and why you would want to wail that way to make you feel better about yourself or to make you feel superior to other players or whatever. But I get it, right? Like if you don't make wailing mechanics, then whales are going to stop wailing, right? But I don't care, man, because I think these companies can, like, you know, games like the Big Four, they can survive without the mega whales. They can. They just choose not to, right? And that's a whole other discussion for another video. But yeah, the point is that endgame wise, I felt like Tribe 9 did an amazing job. And the fact that you could just play with whatever you want. I hope this makes sense to everybody watching, right? This is the reason why I had a lot of fun with Tribe 9. Now, I do want to be a little bit more objective here and talk to you guys about the things that the game did wrong, right? So, problems that Tribe 9 had. First of all, it's what I was saying. The biggest problem when it came out was how shitty the gacha system was. And just how out of touch with the market that they were entering Akatsuki Games seemed to be. Just how completely lost you were in what gacha gaming was at the beginning of this year. The choices that they made with this game when they put the game out, they were either done through sheer and utter stupidity or sheer and utter ignorance, right? Both are bad. But it is unbelievable to me what you did, right? When you put out, and you guys are going to see it because this is coming from just a gacha gamer, like an 8-year. I've been playing gacha games for 8 years, and I can tell you this, and I'm pretty sure that most of you guys in the audience right now can say the exact same thing. When you put out a game like Tribe 9 today, then you are directly competing with the Big Four. Maybe not Star Rail, but you are competing with Genshin Impact, with Zenless Zone Zero, and with Wuthering Waves. Those are your biggest competitors, and a lot of the players that are going to try your game out are going to be players who play these games. And you come out with a game that looks worse than the Big Four, has arguably character designs that will not be as popular as the character designs for the characters in the Big Four. You have a gameplay system a lot less robust, let's say, than Zenless Zone Zero and Wuthering Waves. You have way worse animations. You have an overworld that's pixelated, right? Pixelated, I guess, looks like an old school RPG, right? And somewhere between an old school RPG and Octopath Traveler, right? But not as good looking as Octopath. So when you're getting players coming to play here, you've got the Danganronpa fans that are going to try this game out just because it's made by the same company and the same writers. You're getting the big four fans who are going to come to this game, and they're probably not going to stay because the game doesn't look nearly as good or plays as good as the games that they're already playing. And then you got the small Venn diagram of people who are Danganronpa fans and are players of gacha games that came in knowing exactly what to expect, right? When you do this, when your game looks worse, it doesn't even need to play worse, right? Arguably, it plays worse than Wuthering Waves, right? I think you can say that without a problem, right? And ZZZ. I don't know about Genshin Impact, but it plays worse than ZZZ and Wuthering Waves. When you come in with a game that looks worse and plays worse, then you better fucking do something that is better than the other games. So, but no. What Akatsuki Games chooses to do is to come in with a game that looks worse and plays worse and has a worse gacha system and less free currency than the big four. What the fuck do you think is going to happen to your game? How dumb can you be? Seriously. It boggles my mind how you can be a producer for a gacha game and you make a direct competitor to Hoyoverse and Wuthering Waves and you put the game out on the state that it was with a worse gacha system, with a more predatory gacha system. Right then and there, you lost all the players that came in from the Big Four to check out the game. You probably lost all the Danganronpa fans that had no idea what a gacha game was, and then when they saw your fucking system, they were like, I am out. And you probably lost at least half the people who are in the Venn diagram. The only reason why they didn't lose me is because the game had no elemental system and no time limit in the game. It is crazy. It is crazy to me. But then, right, they got completely review bombed. And then after like a week or something, I think it was a week, maybe even days, right? They completely revamped the gacha system. Then they did what they were supposed to do. They made it much better. They were standard. There's no limited synchro. Anyways, they made the character pool a 75-25, right? Instead of whatever the hell it was before. Things were just way better. And if the game had come out with a better gacha system, then there it is. You have a worse looking game that doesn't play as well, but you have a much better gacha system than the Big Four. There you go. You gave the player the initial incentive to actually give the game a shot. That's all you had to do. And I'm pretty sure that everyone in my chat, if you were asked what to do, you probably would have said the same thing I just did. If you were the producer. But no, the producer is some fucking boomer who thinks it's what Biriba said there, who thinks they just gonna be like, the Danganronpa fans will play it and we'll get a lot of fucking money because we're gonna feed off the fans, right? Fuck it. It's Danganronpa. They need to play this because it's Danganronpa. Dude, motherfucker, that doesn't work with Final Fantasy. Do you think it's gonna work with Danganronpa? Really? If that was the case, then all the Final Fantasy gacha games that are now shut down because they're shitty-ass gacha systems, they would still be alive, baby. If that doesn't work with Final Fantasy, what the fuck does it make you think it's gonna work with Danganronpa? It is insane to me. It's pretty unfortunate since it had so much potential. It did, man. And it's what I was talking about, right? It's these things that it did differently that gave you so much freedom to play with whatever character you wanted and like do different builds and different card combinations. It did have potential, dude. I think it did. Arrogance over confidence, yeah. I probably would play Tribe 9 to this day. Even if I was hating the story, even if I hated all the characters that were going to come out, which already wasn't true because Alice was one of the characters, Arisu, right? And I really wanted her. I would still play this game just for the message that it was sending. Just for the fact that it gave me all this freedom. And it didn't hold me chained to substat farming like a lot of other gacha games do. That's really it. That's where it goes down to. And I think that also another thing that might have contributed to why all of this shit happened is the fact that I do think the, Tokyo Games, I think they were biting off a lot more than they could chew in developing this game and 100 Line Defense at the same time. Even though they were, separate development teams, the money has to come from somewhere, right? And the money that came into Tribe 9 probably only came from investors that don't know shit about what the fuck they're investing in. And then obviously Akatsuki Games created the gacha system to please the investors and not the players. And then guess what, man? When you make a game for the investors and not for the players, nobody's going to fucking play it. Nobody's going to take your bullshit and just eat it. So it's very, and coupled with the fact that apparently, now you guys might correct me here if you want to, but apparently they were freaking going bankrupt. So maybe a reason why they did that too is, they were going bankrupt. So like, I guess we gotta take advantage of our fans in Tribe 9, which is also shitty. So like, who knows, dude? And I don't think that's only happening with gacha games, my guy. Right? That's happening everywhere. I feel like the AAA industry right now is such a den of assholes that they just want to milk you for everything you're worth. And they are making, the AAA industry right now, at least in the West, they're making games for investors and not for players. That's my take. So yeah, then and that's all that happened, man. And the one thing I want to leave here is today is the 26th, right? In Japan, it's going to be the 27th. If it's not the 27th already, it is the 27th already. I'm an idiot. So in Japan, it's the 27th. And I don't really know at what time Tribe 9 is going to go offline. But I want to leave you guys, right? I'm definitely going to post this video up. And I want to leave this saying that I am sad. I'm sad. The game wasn't perfect by any means, right? The game needed a lot more content for you to do. The event took way too long to happen, and it was very repetitive. The game had a lot of things it did right, but it also had a lot of things it did wrong. I just want to say that overall, I had a lot of fun with it. I met a lot of you guys while I was playing this game, right? You guys in chat. I am very sad to see it go. It's quite kind of solemn for me this moment, but for what it's worth, it was a good time. And I hope that games in the future, they go more the DNA route. They go more the where winds meet route. They go more the Ananta route rather than the Hoyoverse route. I really hope we start to see more of that, and I'm really, really happy that we are. So we are getting things, the future is bright. I'm seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And, of course, there's the elephant in the room of, well, maybe if you don't do these bullshit things like, time limit end games and that kind of stuff, these games just don't survive because the great majority of players might, for some reason that completely eludes me, actually like that bullshit. And yeah, I don't want to sound mean. Like, I respect you if you like it, man, whatever, right? That just means it's not for me, but it's for you. But yeah, so there's also that what if, right? That even if the game kept going, because they did say that the game was making them money, not just as much as they expected. There's always the fact that if the game kept going, because it was so it was so respectful of the players' choices and freedom, that it might just not work out. And then at that point, like, if gacha games need to do that, then maybe gacha games aren't for me. I've played like 30 gacha games. Right now I'm playing 4, right? And one of them I've been playing for 8 years. Yeah, maybe just now I'm finding that out. Yeah, whatever. But it is what it is. To top it all off, rest in peace, Tribe 9. It was a lot of fun while you were here. Thank you for the service. Thank you for acknowledging that you had a stupid gacha system really quick, even though the players probably just didn't come back. And thank you for letting me do a thing that I was trying to do for, I think, over 6 years in other games and I couldn't. Thank you for letting me clear the entire game with Tsuki Iroha. I'm looking at my Tsuki, man. Brother, this is the last time I'm going to see her. It sucks. I've been through a lot of end of services, but like through a lot, man. Right, like Valkyr, Sinnoh Alice, Final Fantasy, War of the Visions. But this one hits really hard because of all the things it allowed me to do. What is the game dead? Yeah, the game is getting shut off today. What else are they going to developers are completely discouraged when it comes to making a new gacha game now? They probably are. Could be seen as positive, but maybe we'll miss out on something good. Tsuki's Funeral? Yep. Mineral Science RIP, a game I never played because of server problems. Yeah, that doesn't help either, right? So many characters that were dope. I liked a lot of the shit in this game, man, right? And listen, I'll be the first one to admit that the game had a lot of problems. It, you know, Wuthering Waves and ZZZ just played better. They just played better. But for what it was, I had a lot of fun. And I'm very sad to see it go. Yeah, let's give a minute of silence to my favorite character that I'll never see again. '07 in the chat. Goodbye, Tsuki. I fucking love you. Thanks for everything. Thanks for watching. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, subscribe. Help me out. Give me yeah, if you agree with me, post it down there. If you disagree with me and you think it's just it's a skill issue that I don't have substats, go ahead, man. I don't mind. I respect your opinion too. Thanks for everything, guys. That was awesome. I honestly don't feel like playing the game anymore. No, me too. Me neither, man. Like I was going to play the game today, like do some fights, some whatever, but I don't feel like doing it. And I'm sorry, chat. I just don't want to. It was the last time I saw my Iroha, and I'm pretty beat off about it, honestly. Thanks for being here, guys. It's sad, dude. It's sad.